Hello, design and product enthusiasts, and welcome to Rethinking UX, the Golden Circle talk show, where we discuss the latest trends, burning issues, and what it takes to be a successful designer and a product leader. Get ready to deep dive into the world of design innovations with a fantastic guest that we have today. She is Richa Sarabahi. She has been in the design game for over 18 years. Currently, she is the Director of Experience Design for Nagarro. Richa is all about creative strategy, innovation, and crafting mind blowing design solutions. She has worked her magic at top notch places like Sapient, Adobe, and Publicis Groups. Now she is on a mission to redefine design at Nagarro. Join us for a fun and insightful journey into the world of design and innovation. Hey Richa, how are you?
Hey Mayur, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to introduce our design rock star today, Richa Sarabahi. So, Richa, let's kick off this discussion with the basic question that I have, and like many of the designers like me will have. And I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, right? For last 18 years, you have been working purely in consulting and service-based industry, right? So,
Yes.
if I have to ask you, even for my knowledge and for our audience, right? What are the differences between the product based or product led industry and service based or service led industry? And if you have to give some mantra to a product designer, uh, how and what about these two industries, right?
Yeah, sure, Mayur. Uh, like you said, I have always been in a service industry. I never really got to work in a product, company. I'd love to do it at some point in my career, but I know a lot of people who are part of product companies, like, people from my team who left and went to a product company. And I know through their experiences and all how, they navigated the atmosphere there and everything. But very simply speaking, I'd say, there's what I believe is there's a time to be in service and there's a time to be in product. Very frankly, if somebody has to start their career in user experience or
Yeah,
design, they should start it in service, because the kind of exposure that you get, be it multiple domains, or be it just very quickly going from one thing to the next and getting that
yeah,
immense learning, right?
yeah,
That I feel somehow that product is missing, at least in
yeah.
the beginning of somebody's career.
Sure.
When you are seasoned enough, I feel that when you know that you know the game a little bit, and you know your skills,
Yeah,
and you are at a certain point in your career, that's when you can very easily go over to the other side, be in a product company. I
yeah,
feel product companies are very focused on what they are doing, right?
mhm,
And that is something that's kind of like a deep dive, right? So from doing almost everything, talking about all kinds of domain, you then go into a very specialized place where you're
yeah,
talking about just one product. You're looking at the users for that one product. You're looking at one feature for like a long time, let's say 6 months. I know people who are in big enough companies who are looking at certain products, and they're like, 6 months I spent on one button. So
yeah,
that is its own kind of environment, I feel, and that's its own kind of learning as well. So yeah, I mean, very simply, to answer your question, when you start your career, try doing everything, like be the jack of all trades, and then go on to focus on something more specific, like a product.
yeah. Sure. No, I think like rightly mentioned, and I'll also wear a devil's hat, right? Because I'm from the other side of the world. Though I've spent few years with the service based or consulting industry, uh, and I do hear you out. The amount of projects or the kind of project that you're exposed to, right?
Yeah.
That is quite mind blowing and phenomenal. I remember I was in Accenture uh, in 2015, right? And in 2 years we worked on 300 projects, right?
Yeah.
And be it Surface, be it Google Glass, be it 3D printer, right?
Yeah.
Which I think in many of the product led companies, right, you don't even have access to uh, those innovative tech, right? And I'm talking about
Yeah.
2013 and 15, right?
Yeah.
uh, But on the other side, while working in the service base, right, you are only working on the one side of the UX, right? Because you are not there to see how your designs have performed, what numbers
Yeah.
they have delivered, right? uh, are they are in is are they impacting the business? So sometimes do you see, or do you see that as a gap area, and how do you negate for yourself and for your team, right?
Yeah. So, what I'll tell you is what we have started doing when we deliver something, like when we get to an RFP stage or when we get a project, we start
Mm-hmm.
with a big discovery phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do our initial research, we do like a due diligence, and then we deliver a MVP. We make it a
Yeah.
point to do testing once we have a MVP, so that we go with at least a basic number, you know, of the impact that we have been able to create.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we have started doing, for the last 2 years at least now. So, we definitely want to do that, is what we tell our clients, that, we need to know the impact that we have created. And that's when it also kind of helps you
Yeah.
when we go back into the design, because it's an iterative process, right? If you
Yeah.
don't let us go back to the users, if you don't let us iterate on what we have done and make it better, then why get into a discovery altogether, right? Then you can use your own, business ideas to create a product. But if you have come to us to, go through the entire process of getting a discovery done, getting to know your users and everything, it makes absolute sense for you to also look at what impact we have been able to create. But very rightly said, Mayur, that's the point where somewhere or the other we have to leave it off. And until and unless it's a project that we have, that we deliver end to end, and where we have embedded testing into the sprints,
Mm-hmm.
we at some point lose that ability to understand the impact that we
Sure.
continually create.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I think, like rightly pointed out, the other two aspects of working in a service-based industry, and in the current context, right? Uh, I was talking to many of the design leaders. Uh, in product-based, they are more business-led now, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and UX, actual core UX takes time, right? Even like
Yeah.
research takes time, though there is a lean research, lean UX, all those
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
fine. I think that the service-based industry or the company are the place where you can actually fulfill your uh, the entire UX process, right? You complete you end to end. I was talking
Yeah.
to someone from one of the big five consulting companies, right? And they have 8 months, 9 months to deliver a project, right? From inception till the launch.
Yeah.
And that made me think, right? At least one thing which cannot go wrong is the final delivery, because it will go through all the rigorous UX process, right? That was one. The second, I think, what I also believe is uh, every designer goes through a rigorous process of hiring and being hired again and again by the client, right?
Yeah.
So their soft skills, right? Facing the stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
That uh, I think is missing in the product industry,
Mhm.
because once you are hired, you are in a comfort zone now, no matter what, right? You are there. That's
Yeah.
highly unlike than the service. And so, like, there are pros and cons. But one last question on this point. You must be having many of your customers who must be a recurring customer, right? That means whatever you are delivering, you know that, okay, they will come back and ask you, right, what has worked,
Yeah.
what has not worked. So how many of as a percentage, like, how many customers are like those where you are working continuously 2 3 years, so that at least that number part or the business goal, right,
Yeah.
you cannot oversee, or like you cannot over you cannot miss it, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
what is the percentage of those customers?
Thankfully, in Nagarro, most of the work that we get is a recurring work from our clients, be it design work, be it technology work, Mayur. A lot of, like, I really can't put a number to it, but I'll try to find it out. But if I can say so, at least 50%, I believe, would be just recurring work.
That's
So
huge.
that
That's
just goes on to show the kind of commitment that we have towards our clients, and why caring stands out as our core values is why a lot of clients come back to us. Like,
yeah,
we are pretty big now, but still at a point where, that personalized attention to each customer and each project is still there. And that is
yeah,
what the clients appreciate, I think. So that is the reason that we keep getting recurring business from the clients that we have. And even for design, like if I have to talk about, there are a lot of clients that just keep coming back. Like they know the kind of work that we deliver, right?
yeah,
And then they'll come back for more, and they'll be like, okay, now we are doing this, so let's do it again. And it has also very you know as a delight to us, has gone from just delivering a particular project to also being in a space where, why don't you teach us how you do it, right?
sure.
At least
Yeah,
design thinking wise, that you do this so nicely. Why don't
yeah,
you teach our teams to apply design thinking to what they are doing? And
yeah,
as in how we started doing that, we realized that, that's the premise of design thinking, that you don't really need to be a designer to be able to apply it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the
yeah,
best of the ideas come from the people who know the domain, and the
yeah,
client side people know their domain in and out. That's what they
yeah,
do all day,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So when we work along with them, when we are teaching them design thinking, or when we are having design thinking workshops with them, we get so many ideas from them which we help them enhance. And a
yeah,
lot of times we come back with them, and then we are able to pitch it back to them saying, these are the ideas got from your people, and we can do this for you. So
sure.
that works perfectly.
Yeah, no, I do keep talking to a few of your team members. I know you have a large team of 200 designers. Right? That's what you told me last time.
Yeah.
Uh, and one thing they do talk about is the workshops that you do each time, every time with your customers, right? And the
Yeah.
other thing is, like, this is also evangelizing the great work that the design team does, even within Nagarro, right?
Yeah.
That also builds trust in turn, which goes long way, right? Even with your customers and your internal. And I think in some way it also becomes a strong pillar, right?
Yeah.
I remember long time back, right? uh, when a function or a team used to talk to a client, right, most of the time they used to miss the design team. But off late, in last 6 7 years, I have seen that there is a stakeholder from the design team who is there, or a leader is there to
Yeah.
make sure to answer the questions that they cannot do it. That saves time, and they can also plan it better, right? Great.
Yeah.
The because we have worked for so long, right, the next question comes to you is, any innovative projects that you are proudest about, or uh, in last 18 years, right?
Mhm.
Irrespective of any companies you were in, which you thought, okay, you have to work here, right? And like, if you ask me, right, one of the project where I was quite excited was when I had to create the experience center for one of our previous for like one of my previous companies, right? And because it was innovative project, most of the stakeholders, they said no, because when there is an innovation there is a risk, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, like, that's also a chance for me as a design leader and for my team to come ahead and own something new, right? And we
Yeah.
owned that, and we like ran it for 6 months, and it was quite a success. uh, any project that comes to your mind, and I'm asking especially to you because you are in a service industry and there is
Yeah.
no barrier, right? It is
Yeah.
anything and everything. So any project that comes to your mind, Richa.
Mayur, I think I will refrain from talking about one particular project as such.
Sure, sure.
Uh, but I definitely like to say that the way that we are working now is what I'm proud of. So
Hmm.
over the last, 1.5 years or 2 years or so, like you rightly said, there's a seat at the table for a design person or a design leader. That is what I am really proud of. I don't want to talk about a project in
Sure.
detail or in obscurity, but that's what I'll say. That, a that, and the second point, that uh, we are having clients come back to us and ask us to do more and more uh, user-led work is what
Okay.
I'll say I'm proud of. So a
Okay.
lot of UX majorly, even till 2 years back, what we were doing was through, quickly talking to the stakeholders, gathering requirements, making something out, guessing what we are doing and all that. Uh, but now it's changed. Uh, I know that it's a very different answer from what you probably would be expecting, but and I can talk at length about because we are a technology company.
Yeah.
There's no dearth of innovation in terms of technology and design coming together. We
Okay.
we are working with AI right now. We are working
Mhm.
have been working with IoT and
Yeah.
VR, AR, whatever whatever there is in the industry is what we are
Sure.
looking at and what we are doing.
Mhm.
And a part of the design studio is always to look at how to be, the trend predictor in the industry rather than follower. So most of our work over the years has been around, okay, this is the new technology that's coming. Let's quickly start building on POCs along
Sure.
with the right people, which involves design right from the start, and then we start pitching it to our clients.
Sure.
So projects have been immensely, innovative throughout the years. But like I said, being a designer,
Mhm.
what I love now is that we can proudly say most of our projects now are user led. Like when we are doing research, we have the
Mhm.
end users with us. We do not guess, we do not rely just on the stakeholders or technology.
Great.
We are doing all of them along with the end users and making sure they are heard, making sure we are designing for them, and we are making sure that we are testing out with them.
I think that itself is a win-win situation, right? Because
Yeah,
uh, in many a times you don't even have an access to a user when you are working for a client, right?
yeah,
Let's imagine a banking, right?
yeah,
I know if you have to get a banking consumers for research, it has to go through the legalities and it takes 6 months, right?
absolutely.
But if that's happening in some way and you have the hack, like with you, for like working in the industry for quite some time, but I won't leave you. Again, coming back, right? If not the project, right?
Yeah,
Any innovative hardware that, or even in future, like as I said, right? POC, like you did mention, right?
yes,
Currently, it's all AI, right? Few
yeah,
months back or few years back, it was something else.
yeah.
Is it only AI, or you also foresee something else hitting you, and you want you and your team to be prepared beforehand?
Uh, right now, the focus is very much on AI, Mayur. Right now, we are looking at, just doing something. Mayur, you there?
Yeah, I am there. I am there.
Okay, sorry, I lost you for a second. Yeah. So right now the focus is very much on AI and how do we use it for different domains.
Hmm.
So when I said that we are working on, AI with different BUs, what we are trying to do is create a design accelerator
Hmm.
that we can quickly put on top of anything that we are answering to. So any solution that we are making, or any RFP, or any design, even non-design thing that we are
Yeah.
answering to, we try to put it on top of that and say that, uh, this is, even if it's a small thing, like, this area is where you can use this particular thing, and don't worry about it. We are not just asking you to imagine. We already have certain things with us that you can look at,
Yeah.
that you can use. So that I think is something that we have been doing for a long time.
Okay.
In fact, the entire company's focus is on AI a lot right now, where we are actively looking at how we can utilize it in everyday lives. Like it doesn't have to be a 10x or a 100x innovation for anybody to do it. Like,
Sure.
how can banks use it? How can healthcare use it? How can automotive use it? These are the things that we are looking at, trying to get it into our everyday lives instead of making it sound like, it's a huge breakthrough or it's a huge innovation. It is there. It has been, like, our point of view, it has been there for a long time.
Hmm.
Now that it is becoming more mainstream, let's try to integrate it in ways which makes everybody lives easier for people. So that's the focus.
Okay. Okay. Uh, we have talked about all good things about service industry, right? The
Yeah.
mostly pros, right?
Yeah.
And I am sure that working with the multiple clients uh, in the product industry, right, working with internal stakeholders, and for us they are the clients, right?
Yeah.
First hand clients, right? Working with them, knowing them who they are, it is many a times a challenge, right, to make them understand why and why not. For
Yeah.
you, the customer is a fresh customer all the time, every time, right? Most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So what are the top 2 or 3 challenges that you come across on daily basis, and how do you keep yourself updated and your team, right? Because
Yeah.
more than you, I think you, if there are multiple projects like running parallelly, right, you cannot be there all the time. So
Yeah.
your first line, your leaders has to be there, and they have to
Mhm.
replicate your thought process, right? So
Absolutely.
what are those challenges, and what the designers from the product industry or the enterprise like industry can learn from the service industry?
Yeah, I mean, challenges. I have been talking about, client coming back to us and asking for us to do discovery and all. But of course, there's also a flip side. Not everybody comes asking us to do certain kind of work. There have been the challenges to make them understand why we want to do certain things.
Hmm.
If not like a full-fledged discovery, we have to have be at that bargaining point where, okay, let us do at least this, let
This
us
one.
show you the value of doing just this little bit. Once you see it, you can take the decision to do something bigger.
And tell
So
me,
yeah,
Richa, I'm just like stopping you here. This is primarily because of the cost, or to reduce the cost, or, or
cost and
primarily,
timeline
right?
both. Cost and
And
timeline
timeline,
both. Yeah.
timeline both.
I
Yeah.
mean, people just want something to happen like really fast, like 3 months, give me the entire product, right?
Mm.
Whereas if we say that, we just need like 3 weeks or 4 weeks to do a discovery or do some sort of research and then give you, a certain direction or a roadmap for doing something, then for them it's like almost a month gone. Like, if somebody is expecting a full-fledged product in 3-4 months, spending 1 month without, and a lot of people say, what will we get at the end of it? Is it like, a little bit of the product at least? And if the answer is no, it's a big no-no for them. Like, 1 month we spend and there's not even a deliverable in terms of, the
Yeah.
product. Like, we're like, it's not a product, but there will be a lot of things that you will get. You will
Yeah.
actually get an entire product strategy. You will know how to do certain things and all that. But when somebody has not seen it, it is difficult to convince them of it,
Yeah.
right? That's why I say that, then we get into a little bit of that bargain. At least let us do this much, see if it brings you value, then we can do more of it.
And and if that bargain doesn't go well, then it also impacts the design delivery or the product delivery,
It
right?
does. Definitely. Yeah.
It has to, but I would say even then, I think because there is a function that needs to be roped in, right? And they have to be chargeable, right? So
Hmm.
at least the design function or research function or the workshop, they are there in some quantum, right? In product, that's not, that is not even an option many a times. You won't
Hmm.
believe, one of the feature we launched and we had only 1 month from discovery to develop and launch, and we only had
Yeah.
7 days, right? But that's also a different kind of fun, right? Because that
Yeah.
also makes you a seasoned designer,
Yes.
uh, knowing what the business goal is, and then you work backwards, right? You
Yeah.
do a handsome prioritization, right?
Yeah.
Not a bad one, but a good optimized handsome prioritization, what and what not.
Absolutely.
Keeping the knowledge and the insights somewhere on the paper, that okay, if not now, then in future we will implement it, right? uh,
Absolutely.
but yeah, that's a, tell me one thing, how does that impact the team's morale? Because nowadays it's not a rocket science, right? Everyone knows what's the process, right? How
Hmm.
it's consumer insights, working for consumer, working with consumer, right? Or user or human, I call them human now, everyone is a human, right?
Yeah.
How does that impact the design team, and how do you overcome those impact if it's in a negative way?
Of not doing discovery properly.
Of not doing the way it needs to be done, the right way of doing anything, right? If
Yeah.
by any like reason, if it is not, because see, where you sit, right, you know why it was not done and what were the challenges, because you were part
Yeah.
of that meeting, right?
Yeah.
You know that you and your team and everyone from Nagarro would have fought big time, right?
Yeah.
But the other team members, they are not aware, right?
Yeah.
So any anything that you have as a process which has worked for you, and I'm asking you because I do have few things and I keep doing it, but I would love to learn from your exhaustive and like experience working with so many clients. I'll also ask you just a hypothetical number, how many clients like you have worked with, right, or projects you have worked with. But first, how do you keep the morale up for your team?
See, it's a delicate balance for anybody to strike. Uh, there are design-led projects. There is discovery happening in a lot of projects that we are doing. But of course, again, there are many projects where we are not doing that, and there are people who are okay with that, like
Hmm.
this is what it is and what we are doing. And then there are people who, of course, aspire to do more of discovery on their projects and everything. And
Hmm.
the balance is to try to find such work for them, like
Okay.
right now. And that's the advantage of being in service, right?
Hmm.
Your one project is not the only one that you have.
Sure.
You will get out of it at any point in time, and then you will go to another one, or within
Hmm.
that project, or like a BU. If I say, even if a designer is in one BU and they did
Hmm.
one project for a long time which had no research or discovery or very much design application on it, they will
Hmm.
definitely get onto another one. I encourage people to come to me and tell me that this is what we want to do, this is what we aspire to do, and then trying to find the right kind of work for them.
Hmm.
And a lot
Interesting.
of cases where they are not able to do it, we encourage them to help us, because the studio does a lot of research,
Hmm.
right? So we, like, just to explain, we have the design studio, which is the first point of contact for anybody, like any
Yeah.
RFPs, any projects that we are kickstarting happens through us, and then we send it to the respective BUs where the other designers from within the BU take it over. So when they want to do something and they are not able to do the research, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to learn, this is what I want to do, we encourage them to come and spend some time with us while we are doing it. So even if it's shadowing, even if it's doing a lot of analysis that we are doing in the background, we try to keep people in the mix and we try to do it with them. So even if it's not their project, they
Yeah.
are a part of the research that's happening. So that's what
Mm.
we try to do.
And the way this discussion is going, I am assuming that you don't need to sell your design team. I think it's the need for any project to have you on board, right? Which was unlike a few years back, where
Yeah,
even the design leaders used to sell themselves, right?
yeah,
We are here to help you out. Please
yeah,
make us chargeable, right? Put something
yeah,
on the like Excel sheet. So, but what we are talking about, right? And like you have not pinpointed which project and what innovative ideas, but I think innovation is like a middle name for all the designers in the service industry. But
absolutely.
how do you keep the creative juice flowing, right? Because many a times the client is coming and they are asking for some project, right? If it's a big one, then you have a good lever to move around and play around with new technology, new hardware, right? But do you also do POCs internally within the team to keep something ready, keep something handy for your uh, product, only the business folks, so that when the time
Yes.
comes, they can do it?
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what I'm saying. So when we started with, like I said, the AI accelerator, it was around, building POCs. Nobody had come to us and asked us for it, because the
Hmm.
company focus is AI. What is design doing for AI becomes a question for me, for the studio, right? And then that's the direction that we start doing some work in. So there wasn't really a requirement, but we started working on it. The other ways that we try to keep the creative juices flowing is, having, if we are having like a client come to our office, we don't rely on just giving them presentations through PPTs. We try
Okay.
to think of giving them an experience. Like if it's a design session, let's give them an
Mhm.
experience of what we do and how we do it. It could be even doing a quick hackathon within the design team, right?
Okay.
So there are a lot of designers that we encourage to come and say, this is the problem statement that we foresee, or that we have asked the client that they have, like, or a point of view that they would want to see us give them around, a certain problem statement. Let's have a
Mhm.
hackathon around it. Let's have small teams build a point of view around it, and let's present it to the client at the end of it, right? So this is what we do. We don't give just a capability walkthrough to tell them, this is what design is, this is what we do, these are the services that we provide. Once we are done with that, and that's like really a quick thing for us, we then take them along to this experience where, okay, fine, you said that XYZ was your problem statement. Here are
Mhm.
5 solutions to it, or 5 point of views to it, not even a
Sure.
solution, because it's too premature to say, these are solutions. It may not be solutions for them. So we say, these are 5 different perspectives that designers within Nagarro have for your problem statement. So you come to us. If you ask us to work on something, we have this collective creative group who can give you a lot of solutions. So it becomes, sort of like an experience for them also. There are clients who have been delighted by that. Like, they're usually the sessions that they are having are sitting in a meeting room or a war
Yeah.
room and going through presentation after presentation. From there to actually going into, okay, fine, this is actually tasting what different point of views can look like from a creative point
Yeah.
of view. So that delights them a lot.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, keep the creative juices flowing, not just for the studio, for the rest of the company as well, designers.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are in an evolution, the era of evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything is constantly changing, right? What has worked for us, for you, or for me, or for our team members 2 years back or 3 years back, it's not the same now, right? Uh,
Hmm.
what advice would you give to all the listeners, right? On how the future is, how to prepare for the future, and especially to the UX designers, right? Or the
Yeah.
UX researchers, if they have to be, what is that mantra if they want to get hired at Nagarro? If there is an open position anytime in future or even now.
Yeah. No, my biggest advice to anybody who calls themselves a UX designer is know the process, right?
Yeah.
That's like the basic. Know your basics, know everything. Like, that's what I want to see in people. That
Okay.
even though you have not been able to do it on your projects, because not every company is able to provide that kind of experience, but you know what you're doing, you know your craft, right? So
Yeah.
be it through reading more, be it through interacting with different designers, be it through getting mentorship. There are so many platforms now. If you're not doing that, then you're doing a disservice to yourself, because the avenues are open for you, right? There's so
Yeah.
much that the internet has to offer alone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let alone
True.
anything else. So if you know your craft, you should know your craft. Like, it's not even a if, you should know your craft. So that's the basic for me. That's what I tell everybody. Like, people who come to me for mentorship, people who are in the company already, that even if you're in, don't get rusted. Like, that's not what
Yeah.
you're here for. Or even if you're on a project where you're crying that you're not able to do really cutting edge work, or you're not able to do research or anything, don't spend that time crying. Spend that time actually building
Yeah.
on your skill set, right? So that for me is like a really
So that
important thing.
also reminds me of like one of the incident from my life, right? My dad is PhD in genetics, which is
Oh,
highly
wow.
fancy, right?
Yeah.
And my eldest brother, he is PhD in plant breeding. And my dad asked me, okay, why don't you go and do something? And I said, no, two PhDs are enough, right? And I took it lightly at that point of time, which is around 95, 1995,
Mm.
right? But as you mentioned, right, if you have the craft, you know how to mold it,
Yeah,
right? We
absolutely.
talk about lean UX, lean research, right? But you can only do it when you know what UX and what research is, right? If you don't know
Absolutely.
the wholesome of the entire process, right? How will you know what not to do? right? That's even
Absolutely.
more important, right? So, and then again, coming back, right, if I had an option to go back to 1995 and do it again, right, I would have said, okay, let's do PhD
Let's
in
do
computer
PhD.
science or something else, right? And it is quite phenomenal, the kind of knowledge that you can see. The beauty is in post production of the knowledge, right?
Yeah,
Add,
absolutely.
remove, and all those stuff. But no, good. I think we had a great discussion. As we wrap our awesome discussion with Richa Sarabahi, one thing is clear: design isn't just about things making things pretty, but it's about making things work. We have explored the wild ride of the service industry, dived hard, headfirst into innovation, and seen how design is shaking up the business world. Richa, thanks a million for sharing your design wisdom with us today. And to all our design enthusiasts out there, remember, design is all about pushing the boundaries and having a blast while doing it. Until next time, keep the creativity flowing and the design rocking. See you soon. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.